How's it going? Welcome to a new video. Today's video sees me start a new journey into the land of vintage lenses and application of my hobbyist craft to filmmaking and photography, and it's been quite the eye-opener so far. I'm sure people watching this have at least known someone with an older lens or watch another channel who uses them, and I'm no different. Well, I'm no stranger to vintage lenses in that they exist, and I've seen so many go for ridiculous money whilst filming in auction houses for TV, like antique shows. In fact, a 19th century find was bought by the on-screen expert Paul Laidlaw, who saw one of Auguste Bert's extremely rare Chambre Automatique cameras, which is essentially a camera combined with a microscope, which he bought for £60 in an antique shop in Margate in England. Its final sale at auction went for £20,000. That's not bad. Whilst watching a fellow creator of whom has graced my creator spotlight, Mark Holtz, I've managed to learn a little more about these lenses, the origin, their structural makeup, and how it can be applied to modern cameras for photography and film. If you haven't visited Mark's channel, I'll link it below. He has a very pleasing, educational manner and speaks passionately about the subject. So you've been in very good hands there, and the very reason I'm in this situation. So I thought it was only fair to road test it, the lens, and use it and apply it to my style and see what all the fuss passion was about. So what did I buy? Well, I bought the Helios 44 58mm f2. It's one of the most mass-produced lenses ever. Although the production has since stopped, there are still millions of them around, making it a very affordable alternative. The Russian Helios 44 is based on the lens formula of the Carl Zeiss Biotar 58mm, although its naming might suggest otherwise. The Helios 44 is not in fact 44mm, but a 58mm f2 lens. It was manufactured with an M42 mount, Pentax K mount, and even an M39 thread mount for the Zenit 3M and the Review Flex M39 SLR cameras. Most lenses were manufactured in micro 4 seconds or M42 to be used on the Zenit cameras. As all lenses that are based on the Biotar formula, the Helios 44 has an interesting swirling bokeh. The lens itself is also reasonably sharp when stopped down. The focal length being 58mm is a bit unusual, but comes in handy for portraiture shots. The Helios 44 is also very much appreciated among artistic photographers who relish the bokeh and colour rendition. I mean, if you want an inexpensive lens to experiment, I would recommend getting this lens. The Helios is great, and if you want to try experiments with more artistic things, which is exactly where I've found myself. In a bid to road test this lens, I shot some photography and video, and I just did my thing just to see how this would pan out. So in a bid to make sure there is a full disclosure, I shot all the footage and photos on my Panasonic GH5 with a Metabone speed booster. So the 58mm on a Micro Four Thirds camera would be 116mm full frame equivalent, but with the speed booster it's kind of more like an APS-C sensor, so in this case it's kind of like 87mm full frame equivalent, and I adapt the lens from the Micro Four Second to the Micro Four Thirds with a simple adapter ring that screws onto the back of it, because I have an EF mount on my speed booster, because that's my choice of lenses. Anyway, I liked it, and I went for a walk in the forest with my daughter and I shot some portraiture at various f-stops, but it's super sharp at f2, and the aforementioned swirly bokeh is super swirly, which is personal preference I guess, but it's really dependent on what you're shooting. Yeah, I don't mind it, and I really like the look. It's a kind of vintage look without adding any grading to it, you know, so but that's an appeal. And you know, every day videos are getting thrown out about new camera bodies, lenses, 8K, blah 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 blah, and there's this, you know, there's a place for it, yes. Vintage lenses provide that reality of a world lived in, an imperfection that life has sometimes, and you know, has, and adds a certain artistic quality to the work if you like that look, which after this I must say I really do. So many folks striving for clinical look and expensive lenses when you could just have a unique looking film, documentary or photo shoot with a lens that's less than £30, a robust and well-made piece of kit that will last forever, or at least another lifetime on top of its already exciting life that's, you know, existed on someone else's camera. I wanted to try things in areas where I work, or at least have an interest. So out having a play in the forest shooting some B-roll and a few pictures of my daughter are one thing. All these shots are ungraded and slightly out of camera, and straight out of camera, but allowed me to use the lens and get a feel for its subtleties, imperfections, and how it reacts with GH5. The environment, strong sunlight, shadows, etc. I mean, it's just a little fun, but you know, I shot it handheld and it's fully manual, so I played with the aperture and see the various depth of field looks I could get using parallax movements and pulling focus past things to see how it might stand up to things if I were to use it on a full-on shoot. My main plan is to do an evening shoot involving fire fans. I've shot some test footage already to give me an idea of how it might pan out, but I'm using such an odd focal length for such a busy subject matter, and firelight, you know, only the movement etc. always is going to be a bit tricky, but I like the warm tones that the lens produces. I also like how well the footage can be graded. Doesn't need much, just a tweak here and there with shadows and highlights, but you know, then you can add what desired look that you're going for. I've always planned to make it as natural as possible, but I'm keen to have it dark and make sure the light of the fire is the main focus, allowing the natural fire tones create warmth and ambience on the skin tones. So in this respect, the lens performed really well. I've got a full shoot to choreograph with my wife, but I hope to shoot it all with this Helios lens. Of course, I can give you a quick peek at my test footage as an idea of what I was planning on doing. You can let me know what you think. And that's my plan going forward. A little bit of research and a look for a selection of prime vintage lenses that I can adapt to my filmmaking and start to create an aesthetic that will be a regular style for me. Some wide, some mid-range lenses, and I'm after anamorphic too, that I can use to create something that a little bit different. I might even hook up the heavy lift rig for my drones and fly some vintage lenses too. But that certainly will need some more planning and adapting, but you know, who knows. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something from this and enjoyed the B-roll that went with it, and indeed the chat on the lens. I'm by no means an expert and had to rapidly do a bit of research to at least sound like I knew what I was talking about in relation to using it. But certainly it's a fun lens to use, an easy lens to use, and I would heartily welcome anybody to do it. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for taking the time, and I'll see you on the next one.